Part 4. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, She is Soft and Sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 31. Chapter 31 I don't like him anymore. The man originally thought that the other person's little white rabbit-like personality would be intimidated by him, but unexpectedly he made a mistake. Although he was angry and unwilling to give in, he also knew that if he really went to make trouble, he would not end up well. Forget it. He still has so many goals, there is no need to hang himself from a tree. At first I thought she looked pretty good, so I planned to get her hands on her first, but I didn't expect that she would end up losing a lot of money. What bad luck. More than 2 months of her time were wasted. Okay, I'm in trouble, don't contact her again. The man took out his cell phone and blocked Teacher Huawa on the spot. Then he glared at the 3 little ones who ruined his good deeds, and left without even settling the account. Teacher Huawa pursed her lips and her eyes were slightly red. Although the two only chatted online for a while, it only took a day to confirm their relationship. But the feelings given are real, and the sincerity delivered is also real. Although it may not be that passionate, this is his first love after all. But I didn't expect that the other party would be such a person in private. Although she is simple, she is not stupid. She knows very well the purpose of the other party asking her out. It's also fortunate that the accident happened just now, otherwise I wouldn't know how it would end. Yubao, who was on the side, took her hand and said, "Teacher Huawa, don't be sad. He is just a scumbag, and we don't like him anymore." Teacher Huawa made a puff sound and was amused by her words. He squatted down and spoke to her, "Do you still know about scumbags?" The little girl nodded solemnly, "A scumbag is a bad boy who bullies girls." Teacher Huawa, let's stop liking him. Can I introduce my 3rd and 4th brothers to you? Yubao has 5 older brothers. In addition to brother Lu and brother Lu, who are married, and his biological brother Lu Su is still young, there are 2 other cousins. Although we haven't met each other yet, in the eyes of the little girl, her brothers are definitely the best. The little nephew Lu on the side nodded in agreement, "My 3rd uncle and 4th uncle are not only handsome, but also rich." Teacher Huawa, will you come to our house and be my aunt? That's right, but the teacher doesn't like boys with many brothers in the family. Teacher Huawa teased them deliberately. Lu's nephew, it doesn't matter. I can ask my dad and uncle to sever ties with them. That's it, teacher, let's think about it. Teacher Huawa was once again amused by the childlike words of the 2 little guys. She touched their heads and said, "Okay, the teacher is fine, but why are you here? Shouldn't they stay in the classroom and sleep at this time? Why did you come here?" A hint of guilt suddenly flashed across the faces of the 2 little guys. "Oops, I accidentally exposed myself." Yubao tugged at the hem of Teacher Huawa's skirt and said in a soft voice, "Teacher Huawa, we were wrong. We shouldn't have followed you and sneaked out." After listening to her words, Teacher Huawa looked at the 3 little ones in front of her and roughly understood what was going on. "I felt funny and helpless for a moment, but thanks to them, I was not entangled by bad people." He couldn't help pinching Yubao's little face and said, "It's wrong for children to leave the kindergarten secretly. What if you encounter danger? Also, how anxious should you be if the teacher can't find you for a while? Don't do this again next time." "I'm sorry, Teacher Huawa, we know we were wrong." The 3 little ones admitted their mistake obediently. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, She is Soft and Sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 32. Chapter 32 My little heart beats a little fast for no reason. Congratulations to the host for completing the task of doing 1 good deed a day and receiving a 500-point reward. 500 points from the host have been deducted, and the remaining points are minus 400 points. Paying off the debt is in sight, so please host actively do good deeds. Wow, Yubao's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard the voice of system reward in his mind. She just drew a blessing and helped teacher Huahua get rid of the scumbag, and she actually received a 500-point reward. Xiao Jin was too generous to her this time, right? As everyone knows, what she did today was not just to help teacher Huahua get rid of the scumbag. If the man hadn't been injured by her peace charm today, he would not have given up on teacher Huahua so easily. And with teacher Huahua's temperament, she may not have the courage to resist, and she will definitely suffer in the end, which will have a lifelong impact on her. Because of the talisman, an accident was caused in time, and the appearance of Yubao and others gave teacher Huahua the courage to resist, and only then did the subsequent development occur, thus changing the fate of teacher Huahua. So the rewards will be richer than usual. Just when Yubao was silent in the surprise given by the system, she didn't notice a pair of eyes next to her that had been staring at her. Gu Xingzi discovered that Zhou Tuanzi had been acting strangely since the morning. First, he stuck some talisman paper on teacher Huahua, and then sneaked out of the kindergarten at noon and insisted on going out to see some date, as if he already knew that teacher Huahua would be in trouble. Same. Also, the light suddenly fell down in the restaurant. These are all too coincidental. Is it really because of the talisman? It's not really that effective, is it? When he thought that he had rejected Zhou Tuanzi's offer to give him one, he couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Would it be a slap in the face if he asked for it again now? She won't really stop giving away the ugly dumplings, right? Thinking of this, his face turned a little dark. Little brother, what's wrong with you? Yubao at the side finally noticed the gaze of young Master Gu next to him. The little brother looked at her very strangely. Could he have discovered his little secret? Yubao blinked his eyes, his little heart beating a little fast for no reason. It's nothing. Young Master Gu looked at her deeply and then looked away. I must be overthinking it. This ugly dumpling knows how to eat it all day long. How could he be so capable? This time it must be just a coincidence. Seeing that her little brother seemed to have dispelled his doubts about her, Yubao let out a small breath. It seems that the baby needs to be more careful in the future. At night, Yubao had a dream. I dreamed that someone was making trouble at my father's place of work, and my father was seriously injured trying to save people. The little cub thought about it from his dream. His big misty eyes looked a little confused and scared. This is a precognitive dream, Xiao Jin told her. Yo Bao, what is a precognitive dream? System, I will dream about what will happen in the future. Yu Bao's eyes widened instantly. So dad is really going to get hurt? No, I have to tell him. The little girl opened the quilt and slid off the bed, and was about to run outside with her short legs. System, it's useless, the adults won't believe what you say. Yo Bao paused in his steps, biting his pink lips, his eyes filled with mist, and his face was full of worry. What should I do, Yo Bao? System, just ask Yo-Yo dad not to go to work. This way you can avoid surprises. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 33. Chapter 33, Stay in My Arms. Yo-Yo's mother woke up in the middle of the night and saw her little girl standing in front of the bed holding a pillow. What's wrong, baby, are you having a nightmare? Yo-Yo's mother immediately sat up and put her daughter on the bed and asked. Yo-Yo's dad, who was sleeping next to him, woke up when he heard the noise. He looked at his precious daughter who was held between them by his wife and said, Yo-Yo, what's wrong? Do you miss daddy? Yo-Bao nodded, lay down next to the other person, held the other person's belly with his little hands, looked up at him and said, Mom, Dad, can I sleep with you tonight? His daughter has not been so close to him for a long time. Yo-Yo's father's heart felt as if it had been soaked in water and was so soft that he nodded repeatedly, of course. Thinking about it, he was quite sad when his little girl suddenly asked to sleep alone. I'm worried that as my daughter gets older, one day she won't be needed anymore. Now that she is as close to him as before, the old father is very pleased. Of course, Yo-Yo's dad patted her back and said, "Go to sleep, Daddy will watch over you tonight." Xiao Yubeo then closed her eyes, smelled the familiar scent of her parents, and quickly entered her dream again. Early in the morning, Yubeo was woken up by Xiaojin in a daze, and saw that Yo-Yo's father had already changed his clothes and was getting ready to go out. "Dad," the little guy rubbed his eyes and sat up from the bed. "Baby, did I wake you up?" Seeing that his little daughter was awake, Yo-Yo's father walked up, kissed Yubeo on her forehead, touched her head and said, "It's still early for school, Yubeo can sleep a little longer. Dad will go first, it's time to go to work. You are obedient in the kindergarten and listen to the teacher, you know." As soon as he heard the word "go to work," Xiao Yubeo finally regained consciousness. Recalling the dream he had last night, the little guy turned pale. He stretched out his chubby hand and grabbed Yo-Yo's dad's sleeve and said, "Dad, can you not go to work today?" Yo-Yo's father was a little surprised and a little happy when his daughter suddenly became so clingy. "It proves that my daughter still likes him as her father and can't live without him." Yo-Yo's dad picked up his daughter and coaxed her patiently, "What's wrong, baby? Are you reluctant to leave Daddy? Dad will be back in the evening. Can you take us Yo-Yo out to play then?" No, Yubao shook his head and said shamelessly in the other's arms, "Yubao wants Dad to stay at home with Yubao today." Xiao Jin said that as long as Dad doesn't go to work, he can avoid the nightmare in his dream. Accident. Yubeo's father tapped his daughter's little nose and explained to her with a smile, "That's not okay. Dad goes to work just like Yubeo goes to school. You can't just ask for leave." The little girl rolled her eyes, and suddenly she pursed her lips in grievance, and said in a soft and waxy voice with a cry, "It's okay, Yubeo, your stomach hurts. Is Yubeo about to die? Yubeo just wants to be with Daddy, stay together. Stomach pain? Why do you suddenly have a stomachache when you are fine?" Upon hearing this, Yo-Yo's dad suddenly became nervous. Over the years, under the recuperation in Koi Town and the careful care of Yo-Yo's mother, Yubeo's health has improved a lot and he looks almost like a normal child. Also rarely gets sick. Suddenly hearing that his daughter was not feeling well, Yo-Yo's father immediately became anxious. "Don't be afraid, Yubeo. Dad will take you to the hospital right now." When Yubeo heard that she was going to the hospital, she felt a little guilty. She pretended to have a stomachache just to let her father stay at home. What if the doctor uncle found out? "No, I can't go to the hospital." He simply hugged the other person's neck and said nonchalantly, "No, Yubeo, don't go to the hospital, Yubeo needs to stay with his father." Okay, Daddy is with you." Yo-Yo's father comforted his daughter and coaxed her, "Hey, dear, let's go to the hospital first and let the doctor take a look. After seeing the doctor, the stomach pain will go away." In the hospital, Yubeo was lying on the examination bed with a nervous face, fearing that his pretending to be sick would be exposed. The person who examined Yubeo was Brother Lu. Brother Lu was working the night shift last night. He had just finished the operation on the patient before he got off work. When he heard that the baby at home was sick, he rushed over without even taking off his surgical clothes. "Don't worry, with this system here, we will definitely not be discovered," the system comforted her. Yubao then relaxed and accepted Brother Lu's inspection obediently. "Does it hurt here? What about here, and here?" After a while, Brother Lu retracted his hand and said, "It's nothing serious. It's probably intestinal spasm caused by eating too much cold food recently. Children's stomachs are already weak. Pay more attention to their diet. Eat less cold food and it's not easy to get sick. Just make it up." Finally, he pinched Yubeo's little nose and said, "Little greedy cat, have you eaten a lot of snacks recently? Second brother is talking nonsense, Yu Bao didn't eat it secretly. Yu Bao's big eyes rolled around, and there was a guilty conscience in his eyes. Obviously the children invited her to eat, so it was not considered stealing. As soon as Yo-Yo's mother heard that her daughter was fine, she breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at her daughter's little face that had obviously gained weight, she knew that it must have been caused by her recent eating habits. She couldn't help but look at her with an angry look and said, "Let's go, you're a glutton, are you okay now? Let's see if you dare to eat randomly again next time. Also, you have to cut the snacks in half when you go back, but you can't do it again. I've made so much food for you." As soon as Yubao heard that she was about to take away her snack, he became anxious and hurriedly got up and said, "No, I can't take Yubao's snack. Oh, if I had known better, I wouldn't have pretended to have a stomachache." Yo-Yo's mother looked helpless and funny and said, "Look, after all this time, you still want to eat?" Yo-Bao's face visibly collapsed when he thought about not being able to eat snacks as much as he wanted in the future. The baby is no longer happy. After coming out of the hospital, it was already past the time to go to work. Yo-Yo's father simply asked for leave from the work and planned to spend some time with his daughter at home. After arriving home, Yubao was ordered to lie on the bed and have a good rest. Although there was nothing wrong with her stomach, Yubao still stayed in bed for a whole day in order not to arouse the suspicion of her parents. During this period, Yo-Yo's dad received a call and found out that someone was causing trouble in the workplace. A colleague in the same office was injured. Then I discussed with Yo-Yo's mother to bring something to visit the hospital tomorrow. After hearing this, Yo-Yo's mother couldn't help but sigh and said, "Thankfully you didn't go to the work today, otherwise you might have been injured. It seems that Yubao is really the lucky star of our family. Her illness helped you avoid disaster." Yo-Yo's father is a slave to his daughter. Naturally, he thinks that his daughter is good in everything. Hearing this, he smiled and said, "No, the Taoist priest said at the beginning that our family is very blessed." End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 34. Chapter 34, Does my little brother care about me? Little Yubao, who was lying on the bed with his eyes closed and pretending to be asleep, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he heard that his father had successfully avoided the disaster. Thinking about the injured uncle, I felt a little guilty, but I didn't regret it. When Yo-Yo's dad and Yo-Yo's mom weren't paying attention, they secretly drew a peace charm and quietly put it into the things prepared by mom and dad for the uncle, hoping that the uncle would get better soon. This time, although Yubao successfully helped Yo-Yo's father avoid disaster, he did not receive a system reward. Xiaojin told her that this was related to the injury of her father's colleague. Because of her fault, another person was injured, so the system decided to deduct her reward this time. Yubao has no objection to the system's decision. She cares more about the safety of her family than points. As long as her father is good, it doesn't matter even if Xiaojin deducts her points. She works hard to earn points just to protect her family. Nothing is more important than the health of your family. Gu Xingzi didn't wait for Yubao to come to school with him in the morning, so he waited for nephew Lu. I found out from the other party that Zhou Tuanzi was sick. Ning Sheng came to pick him up in the evening. When she returned home, she saw the brat looking next door. She couldn't help but smiled and asked, "Yubao is sick. Do you want to go see her?" Gzimo, the brat's appearance clearly shows that he cares about Xiao Yubao's condition. Gu Xingzi pursed his lips and said nothing, but if he didn't object, he agreed. Ning Shen knew that this boy was awkward and didn't expect him to speak on his own initiative, so she led him towards the next door. "Godmother, have you brought snacks for Yubao?" When Yubao saw Ning Shen, his eyes immediately lit up and he looked at her eagerly. "When I came back from the hospital, all the snacks at home were put away by Yo-Yo's mother." including those she secretly hid, all were confiscated. Ningsheng saw that she was even sick and still thinking about snacks. She couldn't help but smile and said, "You are sick now and can't have snacks. Your godmother will make them for you when you get better." Oh, the little face became disappointed. Without snacks, there is no happiness. The baby is no longer happy. Gu Xingzi looked at her and couldn't help but frown. Ningsheng said with a smile, "Although there are no snacks, godmother can cook you delicious porridge and sweet honey water. Let brother Seeing stay here to play with you, and godmother can help you make it okay." "Wow, thank you godmother," Yu Bao's eyes couldn't help but light up. "Although I was disappointed that there were no snacks, the porridge cooked by my godmother must be very fragrant, and the honey water also sounds delicious." After Ningsheng left, Gu Xingzi looked at Yu Bao on the bed and asked solemnly, "I heard that you are sick, have you recovered?" "Little brother, are you concerned about Yu Bao?" Yu Bao opened his mouth, with little stars in his eyes. "Gu Xingzi, no, teacher Huahua saw that you didn't go to kindergarten and was afraid that you would skip school, so she asked me to check if you are really sick." Oh, Yobeo, who made the excuse of being sick, couldn't help blinking his eyes guiltily. "Then are you going to kindergarten tomorrow?" Gu Xingzi glanced at her. He originally just said it casually, but when he saw the expression on her face, he couldn't help but feel a little strange. Doesn't she pretend to be sick because she really doesn't want to go to school? "Yeah," Yobeo nodded while lying on the bed. "The matter with her father has been settled. She no longer needs to pretend to be sick. She will naturally go to the kindergarten to play with the children. There are children and teacher Huahua in the kindergarten, which is much more fun than at home." Yo Bao has been at home for a day, and his heart has already flown out. If she wasn't afraid of her parents being suspicious, she would have run out to play long ago. Yu Bao glanced at the door and whispered to Gu Xingzi, "Brother, can you watch the door for me?" Gu Xingzi looked at her suspiciously. "I saw Yubeo crawling out of bed and dragging a cardboard box out from under the bed." Gu Xingzi thought she was hiding it so mysteriously, so he thought it was some kind of treasure. However, when Chu Juanzi opened it in front of him, he found a bunch of strange things inside. There was yellow paper and cinnabar, and a small, tattered wooden sword. Yo Bao took out a bunch of things from the box and placed them all on the ground. The little fat man was holding a pen in his hand, lying on the ground with his little sticking out, and scribbling on the yellow paper with red cinnabar. When Gu Xingzi saw the familiar yellow paper and the red paintings on the paper, he immediately thought of the talisman paper she affixed to teacher Huahua the day before. So Zhou Tuanzi let himself guard the door just to draw a talisman for him. Just looking at a bunch of ghostly talismans on the talisman paper. She is sure that this thing can be useful? Never mind. Gu Xingzi thought, since she painted it specially for him, he should reluctantly accept it. At worst, just find a random place and throw it away, and no one will know anyway. Okay. After a moment, Yu Bao had a big smile on his face and climbed up from the ground happily, holding a drawn talisman paper in his hand. This time she successfully drew the peace talisman in just 1 cup of tea. Yu Bao carefully folded the yellow talisman and took out a beautiful lucky bag from the paper box to put it in. Then he carefully put it into his pocket. Gu Xingzi waited for a long time, but did not see the other party giving it to her. Is it possible that you feel that the painting you drew is too ugly and you are embarrassed to give it away? Young Master Gu cleared his voice and decided to take the initiative. What were you doing just now? Yubeo bent his eyes like black grapes and said in a soft and waxy voice, "Draw the talisman." What I just drew was the peace talisman I learned from the Taoist uncles. It was difficult to draw. I practiced for a long time before I succeeded. Dad has an uncle who is a colleague who is injured, and Yubeo wants to give this to him so that his injury can be cured quickly. The expression on Gu Xingzi's face couldn't help but stiffen. So, the ugly dumpling was not painted for him? Young Master Gu turned into a black face instantly, and heard him snort softly, "The painting is so ugly, who do you want to scare to death?" Yubeo blinked, "Is it ugly? But this is how it is drawn in the book. And what she draws is a talisman, not a painting. As long as it can be used, nothing else matters." Xiao Jin also said that she has done a good job in painting. For a talisman seal master at such a young age, she is already very, very, very amazing. When she learns all the talismans and formations on the ancient seal script, she will become the most powerful master in the world. "I'm going back." Young Master Gu was in a bad mood. He didn't want to talk to Zhou Tuanzi anymore. "Little brother, can you stay with Yubeo for a little longer?" As soon as he heard that the other party was leaving, Yubeo immediately looked at him eagerly. She also wanted to go with her little brother, but she was sick now and couldn't go anywhere. Young Master Gu, not good. He didn't want to stay with this stupid ugly dumpling at all. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 35. Chapter 35, Secrets with Others Behind His Back. Okay then, Yubeo pursed his lips, showing a disappointed expression. Then he ran back to the bed, opened the drawer, took out a lucky bag that was one size smaller than the one just now, handed it to young Master Gu and said, "This is for you. She drew this specially for her little brother last night. The evil spirit in the grave of the old man of the Gu family has not yet been resolved. As a descendant of the Gu family, the little brother will definitely encounter bad things. Like today, when she is not with her little brother, the lucky bag with the peace charm can protect him on her behalf." Young Master Gu was startled for a moment. Looking at the lucky bag in her hand, it was a little smaller than the previous one, only as big as a keychain, and tied with a red rope. There is a fat little koi embroidered on it, which looks cute and cute. Well, just like someone. "So, this is for you?" Humph, Zhou Tuanzi still has some conscience, so he didn't eat so many of their snacks in vain. Seeing that he was standing still, Yu Bao simply stood up on tiptoes and hung the blessing bag directly around his neck. "This is a lucky bag. It contains a peace charm that Yu Bao personally drew for little brother. It can bring good luck to little brother. Little brother must wear it and cannot take it off," little Baizai warned softly. "I know." Young Master Gu glanced at the ugly lucky bag. Although he had a look of disgust on his face, he did not take it off. Instead, he stuffed the lucky bag into his clothes. Night. While taking a shower, young Master Gu carefully took off the lucky bag and put it back on after taking a shower. When Ning Sheng went in to collect his dirty clothes, she saw a red string around his neck hanging out of his pajamas. She couldn't help but curiously asked, "What are you wearing around your neck? Doesn't this kid not like wearing things?" Said it was trouble. "Nothing." Gu Xingzi immediately covered his neck, then ran back to the room and said, "I'm going to bed." "You brat, you're so mysterious." Ning Sheng immediately laughed. She knew even if the brat didn't say it, it must have been given by that girl Yubeo. The next day, early in the morning, Gu Xingzi was sitting at the dining table eating breakfast, looking towards the door from time to time. The little face is slightly wrinkled. Zhou Tuanzi didn't show up today, maybe he's not sick yet? Little did he know that Yubeo was being carried by Yu Yu's mother to have breakfast at home, and she was not allowed to run next door, lest the girl would be greedy again and pester her godmother for snacks. The Lu family has an aunt who specializes in cooking and her cooking skills are also very good, but Yubeo still prefers to eat the snacks made by her godmother. But her mother said that she had a stomachache after eating too many snacks recently, so she was not allowed to go to the godmother next door for snacks during this period. Ning Sheng saw her son's absent-minded look and couldn't help but smile and asked, "Do you want to find Yubao?" A look of uneasiness flashed across young Master Gu's face, and he said seriously, "I don't want to go to her." I'm afraid she doesn't want to go to school today. Who said Yubao doesn't want to go to school? She's because of illness. Ning Sheng glared at her son. The brat clearly cared but refused to admit it. Then after you finish eating, go over and see your sister, she said. Young Master Gu walked out of his yard, and Yubao happened to be led by Yo-Yo's mother out of the next door. The little girl has a wilted head and brain, like a small cabbage. After seeing the two of them, his eyes brightened up and he instantly forgot all the unhappy things. He broke away from Yo-Yo's mother's hand, ran towards the two of them, and greeted sweetly, "Good morning, godmother, good morning, little brother." "Good morning," Yubao. Ning Sheng touched her little head and asked, "Does your stomach still hurt?" "Godmother, your baby is healed and doesn't hurt anymore," the little girl replied crisply. Ning Sheng smiled and said, "As long as it doesn't hurt." Yubao looked at Ning Sheng, his big eyes blinking, and wanted to ask his godmother when he would make snacks for him again, but he was worried that Yo-Yo's mother was right behind him, so he rolled his eyes twice and closed his mouth again. Ning Sheng looked amused and asked him, "Do you want to take your godmother's car to school today?" "Yes," Yubao nodded immediately. Ning Sheng said to her son, "Take sister Yubao to the car first." She knew that the brat had hidden something when he went out, and she thought it was to be given to the girl next door. Since her son doesn't want to be discovered, then she should pretend not to know. Gu Xingzi raised his eyes and glanced at his mother, and saw the latter looking at him with a smile. His cheeks felt warm for no reason, and he felt as if his little secret had been seen through. Immediately took Yubao and walked towards the car. Yeah. After getting in the car, young Master Gu handed Yubao a piece of snack he brought from home. The little girl's eyes lit up instantly, and she stuffed the snack into her mouth while the adults weren't paying attention. After finishing the meal in a few seconds, he looked at Gu Xin eagerly and said, "Brother, are there any more?" "No more," Gu Xingzi shook his head. Knowing that she was sick yesterday, Yo-Yo's mother would definitely not allow her to eat snacks, so she secretly hid a piece for her while everyone was not paying attention. "But I also know that eating too many snacks is not good for your health, so I hid one piece." Huh, Yubao's little face couldn't help falling down in disappointment when he heard this. He licked the snack crumbs on his mouth and said, "But Yubao still wants to eat?" Gu Xingzi glanced at her and said, "I will bring you a piece every day from now on." Yubao's eyes lit up, and he bargained in a soft voice, "Can you bring 2 pieces? No, 3 pieces, it would be better if you can eat as much as you want." "Young Master Gu, it's just 1 piece, no need to negotiate." "Okay," little Baizai pursed his lips. Little nephew Lu came out of the house a little later. Knowing that Yubao was going to school in the Gu family's car, he immediately ran over. "As soon as I got in the car, I smelled the aroma of snacks. I sniffed immediately, then looked at Yubao and said, 'Little ant, what were you eating just now?'" Yubao immediately closed his mouth, shook his head, and looked at the other party with his big innocent eyes. "Means that you haven't eaten anything?" "Impossible. He obviously smelled the snacks." Little nephew Lu's suspicious eyes swept over the two of them. He looked at Gu Xingzi and then at Yubao. Then he looked at their hands. There was indeed no dim sum found. "Moreover, my aunt used to give some snacks to herself and would not secretly eat them behind his back." Could it be that he heard it wrong? Seeing that nephew Lu didn't ask any more questions, Yubao stuck out his tongue quietly, then winked at young Master Gu, reminding him not to forget to bring her snacks every day. Although young Master Gu didn't blink at her, he gave her a got it look in return. Little nephew Lu looked at this and that, always feeling that something was not quite right. Why does he feel that his sister-in-law has secrets with others behind his back? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi little baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 36. Chapter 36. Girls are not allowed to kiss boys casually. 1 week after the kindergarten started, it was nephew Lou's 4th birthday. The second young Master Lou held a birthday party for his son. Except for the third young Master Lou who was working out of town and couldn't come back, and the fourth young Master Lou who was training at the base and couldn't come back, everyone else in the Lou family was here. Speaking of which, Yubeo has not seen these two cousins since he returned to the Lou family for a few months. After singing the birthday song and blowing out the candles, sister-in-law Lou said to her son, "After my birthday, we and have grown 1 year older, and we will be big children from now on. Is there anything you want to say to everyone?" The little nephew, who was conscious of being an older child, said to Louis, "Mom, can I go to kindergarten tomorrow?" "No," sister-in-law Lou shook her head. "The little guy is not big, but he has a big heart. Although the kindergarten is not far from home, it is not close enough to allow him to go to the kindergarten by himself. Safety issues aside, if you really let this kid go to the kindergarten by himself, he will probably get lost directly. It's not that I'm worried that he will get lost, it's mainly that the child has a temperament and can play with any ant he encounters on the road for a long time. By the time he gets to school, it's probably going to be dark. You're too young. It's not safe to go to kindergarten by yourself. How about you go to kindergarten by yourself when you are older?" Erzeo Lou coaxed him. Hearing this, nephew Lou could not help but pout, "But my mother just said that I am already a big child, and you adults will lie to children." Sister-in-law Lou couldn't help but choked, a trace of embarrassment appeared on her face. "It is impossible to agree, but if you don't agree, you are afraid of affecting your image in the eyes of your son." Sister-in-law Lou thought for a moment and said, "Do you really want to go to kindergarten by yourself? It's not impossible, but if you go to kindergarten by yourself, you won't be able to go with your little aunt." "Are you sure you want to go by yourself?" The brat was so clingy to Yubeo that sister-in-law Lou thought that if she said this, the brat would give up on her plan to go to kindergarten. Who would have thought that the little nephew Lou actually patted his chest and said, "My little aunt can go to kindergarten with me. I am already a big child and can take care of my little aunt." Everyone was amused. "Anan really wants to go to kindergarten by herself?" Yo-Yo's mother asked. The dear nephew nodded vigorously. "Okay, our Anan has indeed grown up," Yo-Yo's mother said with a smile, "then I will leave my little aunt to you." "Thank you, Auntie," young nephew Lou cheered, and happily took Yubeo and ran out to play. Sister-in-law Lou couldn't help but have a headache when she thought about her son's temper. "That kid said wind is like rain. I'm afraid he won't really make a fuss about going to the kindergarten tomorrow." Yo-Yo's mother smiled and said, "The little guys have their own ideas and want to be independent when they grow up. If they want to go by themselves, then let them go by themselves. When the time comes, we can follow them secretly." Sao Louis sighed. "It can only be the little ant. Hurry up, we are going to kindergarten and we are going to be late." Early the next morning, before Yubeo had finished his breakfast, he was hurriedly pulled out of the door by Lu Xuan. When he came out of the house, he saw Ning Sheng standing at the door with Gu Xingzi. Seeing the two of them, he smiled and said, "I heard that Anan and Yubao are going to the kindergarten by themselves. Can you let brother Xing go with you?" Of course the two little guys have no objection. In this way, the third child started walking to kindergarten by himself for the first time in his life. Yubeo's steps are small and he walks the slowest. The little nephew Lu is no better than her. Young Master Gu had to stop and wait for the two of them from time to time. While passing by a newly opened steamed bun shop on the road, I saw a little girl staring at the steamed buns. Her pace became slower and slower, and in the end she simply stopped walking. "Gu Xingzi, what's wrong with you?" Yo Bao looked at the bun shop and swallowed. "I'm not full, I'm hungry." "Girls are trouble." Young Master Gu dug into his pockets, but found that he had no money, and then looked at Lu Xuan aside. The dear nephew blinked. Why are you looking at me? I'm not good at eating. Gu Xingzi gave him an idiot look and asked, have you brought any money? The little nephew Lu searched his pockets and finally took out 2 coins and asked, are these enough? This was what he had secretly hidden to buy lollipops. Gu Xingzi took the coins to the bun stall and bought a meat bun and handed it to Yu Bao. Eat it. The meat buns were fragrant and big. Xiao Yubao hugged the buns and couldn't wait to take a big bite. Wow, what a great time. The little guy's cheeks were stuffed so full that they were bulging like a little hamster. Lu Xuan looked at it and couldn't help but swallowed. Little ant, can you give me a bite? Yu Bao raised his head and saw the remaining half of the bun in his hand. Just when he opened his mouth, she stuffed it all into her mouth because it was so delicious. The little girl blinked her big watery eyes, spread her little hands, looked at the dear nephew innocently and said, no more. Little nephew Lu held back tears. He wanted to cry but was embarrassed to cry. He had to endure the sadness and said to her, it doesn't matter. I will buy it for my little aunt next time when I have pocket money. My third nephew is so kind. The little girl smiled and nodded. Then he looked at Gu Xingzi again. The little brother is good looking and buys her meat buns to eat. She likes it. Then he stood up on his tiptoes and kissed Gu Xingzi on the face. Young Master Gu couldn't help but blush, but he didn't forget to teach her a lesson with a straight face. Girls can't kiss boys casually. Why can't you kiss boys? Yu Bao asked with his big wet eyes. She has kissed her father, grandfather, and brother, and everyone is obviously very happy. Children. Lu Xuan rushed to answer, I know, mother said that boys can't kiss girls casually, otherwise they will have babies. Really? Xiao Yubao couldn't help but widen his eyes. Gu Xingzi curled his lips and was about to say something. I heard the little girl patting her chest and saying in a soft voice, it's okay, don't be afraid, baby. If you have a baby, the 4 of us will go to kindergarten together. Lu's nephew thought for a while and said, can I have a younger sister? Xiao Yubao nodded and said grandly, okay. Gu Xingzi, idiot, your mother lied to you. System, host, if you kiss, you won't have a baby. That's what adults do to scare children. Huh, no? Xiao Yubao blinked and couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. The dear nephew is also very disappointed. Can you walk faster? You'll be late for kindergarten, Gu Xingzi urged with a stern face. Yubao had just finished eating the buns and finally walked a little faster. Holding young Master Gu's hand, he skipped forward. If you don't have a baby, it's okay for 3 of you to go to kindergarten together. Lu's nephew, he clearly paid for the buns, so why did my aunt only kiss Xing and not him? It's not fair. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 37. Chapter 37. Little brother, you are so awesome. After walking a few steps past the bun shop, a little bird fell down from the tree. Just fell in front of the 3 little ones. The 3 little ones looked up at the bird's nest in the tree, and then at the bird in front of them. Dear's nephew, the little bird is so pitiful, shall we put it back on the tree? Yubao, but the bird's nest is too high and we can't reach it. After saying that, the 2 of them looked at Gu Xingzi eagerly. Gu Xingzi, it's useless to look at him. He will never climb a tree. However, a few minutes later, young Master Gu sat on the tree and put the bird back into the nest with a black face. Little brother, you are so awesome. Under the tree, Yu Bao clapped his little hands, looking at him with adoration with bright eyes. Young Master Gu's originally dark little face turned red, and the corners of his pursed lips could not help but rise slightly. However, after coming down from the tree, he regained his cold face and said to the 2 of them, don't tell anyone about my climbing of the tree. Yu Bao and Lu's nephew immediately stretched out their hands to cover their mouths and nodded in unison. Young Master Gu's expression softened slightly. As everyone knows, the scene of climbing the tree had already been filmed by Sister Lu, who was secretly following the three little ones, and sent it to Ning Sheng. He was even teased by Ning Sheng from time to time, and became one of the few dark histories of young Master Gu. Of course, this is something. After returning the little bird, the three of them were preparing to continue walking to the kindergarten. Suddenly, a dog barked. At some point a small black dog as big as a palm appeared on the side of the road. The fur on his body seemed to have been gnawed by something. Several pieces were missing, and his whole body was dirty. It's just that her big eyes are round and bright. The little black dog barked in the direction of Yu Bao. Yu Bao subconsciously took a step back. The little dear nephew on the side ran to her side, puffed out his chest and said, "Don't be afraid, little aunt, I will protect you." Then he made a fierce expression at the little black dog. The man and the dog looked at each other for a moment. The latter seemed to be provoked and shouted at him with his teeth bared. Not to be outdone, the dear nephew also barked at it with a voice more ferocious than that of the little black dog. One person and one dog, facing each other. Little black dog, woof. Little dear nephew, woof. Little black dog, woof woof woof. Little dear nephew, woof woof woof. Woof woof, woof woof woof. The little black dog became more and more agitated, with its neck stretched upward and a fierce look in its eyes, as if it was ready to charge at any moment. When the dear nephew saw something was wrong, he ran away. The little black dog barked and chased after him. One person and one dog started to play out, "You run, I chase." Finally, he managed to get a little distance away. The little dear nephew turned around and made a proud face at the little black dog. As a result, he didn't see the stone under his feet, tripped and fell down. Seeing the little black dog chasing after him, baring his teeth, he was about to pounce on him. "Wow," the little nephew Lu cried out of fear. "Don't bite your third nephew." Just then he heard a fierce voice, and Yubeo rushed over to block the little nephew Lu. The pain from being bitten by the dog did not come. The little dear nephew quietly opened one eye and saw the grinning little black dog lying on its hind legs, its front body hanging in the air, and sitting obediently in front of his little aunt. The little tail behind him is wagging happily. Compared to his fierce appearance just now, he looks extremely docile at this moment. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 38. Chapter 38. It won't hurt if you blow it. The dear nephew quietly opened one eye and saw that the grinning little black dog was now on its hind legs, with its front body hanging in the air, sitting obediently in front of his little aunt. The little tail behind him is wagging happily. Compared to his fierce appearance just now, he looks extremely docile at this moment. The little girl put her hands on her hips and taught the dog seriously, "It's wrong to bite people. We need to be a good puppy that doesn't bite people." The little black dog seemed to glance in the direction of the dear nephew with disgust, and then let out an aggrieved "oh" at Yubeo. It was obviously the stupid human cub who provoked it first. "Okay, you didn't bite, you are still a good puppy." The little girl touched the little black dog's head and said, "We are going to kindergarten, you should go home quickly." "Woof," the little black dog stood up and wagged its tail at her. "Yubeo, you want to follow us?" "No, we are going to the kindergarten and we can't take you with us." "Woof woof," the little black dog ran directly in front of the three little ones. The little dear nephew got up from the ground, stared at the little black dog and said, "Auntie, aren't you afraid of it?" "Yubeo, the little cutie is so cute, why are you afraid of it?" Little Cutie is the name she gave to the little black dog. The dear nephew stared at the ugly and dirty little black dog in front of him and blinked in confusion. "What's so cute about it?" At the entrance of the kindergarten. Yubao looked at the little black dog that had been following them and asked Gu Xingdao, "Brother, can't we really bring this little cutie into the kindergarten?" Gu Xingzi, "That's not possible." "All right." The little girl glanced at the little black dog reluctantly and entered the kindergarten, looking back 3 times. The little black dog stood at the door and looked at it for a while, then waggled its tail and left. The 3 little guys walked for half an hour just a few hundred meters away. Although they took their time along the way, they successfully entered the kindergarten. Lu Erzao, who was following the 3 of them from a distance, her teeth were almost worn out. She silently recited 100 times on the way, "I am the child's mother. I must be patient, never lose my temper, and keep the child's self-esteem." Only then did he hold back and not rush out. In short, it is absolutely impossible to let the brat mess around tomorrow. Children in kindergarten have to do exercises every day. The 3 little guys came late today. Teacher Huahua has already led the children to line up on the playground. "Little ant, hurry up," Yubao was pulled by nephew Lu and ran towards the middle class team. Suddenly a child rushed out. Yubao was knocked down and the skin on his palms was scratched. The pain made the little girl's eyes red. The beautiful eyes were immediately covered with a layer of mist. There were children around her, and she was embarrassed to cry. Young Master Gu, who was following nephew Lu and Yubao, stepped forward, pulled her up from the ground, and cursed, "Idiot, you can't even walk." Yubao puckered his lips, feeling hurt and aggrieved. She was hurt, and the little brother didn't care about her but was cruel to her. Seeing her little face that was about to cry or not, young Master Gu noticed her injured little hand. His little face wrinkled slightly and asked, "Does it hurt?" Yubao looked at him with big wet eyes, handed his injured hand in front of him, and said in a soft voice, "Brother, it won't hurt any more if you blow it." The expression on Gu Xingzi's face froze. Zhou Tuanzi doesn't want him to help her blow it, right? Impossible, he would not do such a thing for her. Just looking at the other person's wrinkled little face ready to cry. Girls are really troublesome. Young Master Gu pursed his lips tightly, approached her injured hand with a dark face, blew on it twice, and asked in a stiff voice, "Does it still hurt?" The little girl instantly became happy, shook her head and said, "It's best, little brother, Yubao doesn't hurt anymore." Gu Xingzi's face felt slightly hot, and he snorted softly and said, "Next time you get hurt, I won't care about you anymore." End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 39. Chapter 39 Sister Control. Night. When Yo-Yo's mother was helping Yubao take a bath, she discovered the wound on her palm. Although the wound was not deep, it looked unusually clear on her white and tender little hands, which made people feel distressed just looking at it. "Last time I bruised my knee, and this time I bruised my hand. I still had stomach pain 2 days ago. I always felt that after returning to Yunjing, this girl was either injured or sick. Is it true that only by staying in Koi Town can this girl grow up healthily?" Before going to bed, Yo-Yo's mother and Yo-Yo's father shared their concerns. Yo-Yo's dad comforted her and said, "It's normal for children to bump into each other. It's just a minor injury. Don't be too nervous." Yo-Yo's mother is still worried. "I was fine in Koi Town before, but I have only been back for a while now. I am either injured or sick. I always feel uneasy." Yo-Yo's father naturally feels sorry for his daughter, but it's not a big deal if he thinks of moving back to Koi Town just because of a minor injury. "Maybe it's just a coincidence," he said. "You have also seen how happy you are every day after Yubao comes back, not to mention Ash. I see that the relationship between the 2 brothers and sisters has improved a lot recently." Sure enough, They still have to let them go. Brothers and sisters should get along more. Stop thinking so much and go to bed early. Yo-Yo's mother sighed. She is heartless with so many people pampering her, how can she not be happy? However, when I mentioned the change in my son's attitude towards my daughter, I felt a little relieved. The relationship between the two children has indeed improved a lot recently. On the other side, Yobeo was lying on his little bed and was also asking Zyajin this question. She is a little koi carp blessed by the koi carp immortal. Why does she keep falling down recently? Could it be that the koi immortal is angry because he hasn't seen him for a long time? System, because the host owes system points, your luck has been affected as long as the host actively performs tasks and pays off the debt as soon as possible, your luck will improve. Yobao. Why didn't Zyajin tell her before? The system couldn't help but feel guilty. Could it be said that it did this to urge the host to actively perform tasks? The next day, school is over in the afternoon. Lusu came out of the classroom and saw a figure quickly catching up with him from behind, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Aksu, do you want to go play ball?" "Lusu, don't go." "No, how long has it been since you played ball with me?" Siesui pestered him. Some time ago, Yo-Yo's mother came to pick up her son from school every day, but Lusu disappeared every day after school. Even if you look for him, you can't find him. If you have something to do, go and do it by yourself. He has no interest in playing basketball recently. "What can I do for you?" Siesui followed him relentlessly, preparing to pester him until he agreed. Lusu walked directly to the school gate, ignoring the guy's voice. After leaving the school gate, he saw someone selling rabbits on the roadside. Lusu paused in his steps, and suddenly thought of the little cub at home. The more he looked at it, the more he felt that this thing was very similar to the little cub at home. "Boss, how much does this cost?" Lusu turned around and walked towards the stall owner. Siesui, who was following him, was stunned for a moment, then followed him and said, "No, Brother Su, when did you get this hobby? Are you planning to buy it for a little sister?" Lusu ignored him. After paying the money, he said to him, "Stop following me." After saying that, he carried one of the rabbit cages and walked to the bus stop. Lusu and Yo-Yo's mother talked last time and he could go to school by himself without being picked up or dropped off by the other party. He knew that the other party wanted to make amends, but he didn't need to. "No," the latter caught up with him and said, "Aksu, what's going on? You haven't come to play ball with you recently, and you don't go to the internet cafe. You don't really have anyone you like, right?" Lusu didn't. "No. I don't believe it. You haven't been seen since school. You must have gone on a date with a girl." "No, I have to see today which girl stole our brother Su's soul." "It's up to you." Lusu didn't bother to explain. He took out his bus card and got on the nearest bus. Siesui hurriedly followed, not forgetting to say to Lusu, "Brother Su, help me swipe the card." With 2 beeps of Diddy, the two of them walked towards the back amid the driver's urging. At this time, the bus was full of people, and Siesui was squeezed in the middle by a group of people, making it difficult to breathe. Finally got off the bus and couldn't help but be dumbfounded when he saw Lusu walking into a familiar neighborhood. "No, why are you home?" The two of them live in the same community and have known each other since kindergarten. They are in the same class in elementary school and junior high school, and they can wear the same pair of pants. Of course, this is Siesui's unilateral view. Siesui boasted that he knew Lusu very well, but suddenly he found that he couldn't see through him. Didn't he dislike going home before? "I have to hang out until very late every day before going back." "When did you change your gender? Could it be that I really think too much?" Siesui followed Lusu unwillingly, intending to find out. "As soon as I walked to the door of the Lu family, I saw a snow-white and tender little dumpling running out of the Lu family's mansion and running straight in the direction of Lusu, shouting excitedly, 'Brother! Before Siesui could react, he saw his friend throw the rabbit cage in his hand to Xiaochuanzi and said, "I picked this up on the road and gave it to you." Yubeo blinked, looked at his brother, and then at the little rabbit in the cage. Brother is lying. She is already 3.5 years old, and she is not a 3-year-old child. She bought her as soon as she saw little Tutu. However, her attention was soon drawn to the rabbit in the cage. Such a cute little rabbit must be delicious. No, Ash, who is she? Siesui, who was beside him, was already dumbfounded. Why didn't he know that there was such a cute little dumpling in Ash's house? Co-author Ash didn't go play ball just to come back and be with her? Lusu, my sister. Your sister, is she the sick girl? Siesui blurted out. The next second, he felt a cold gaze directed at him. Lusu looked at him impatiently and said, "Why don't you leave?" Siesui, who knew he had made a mistake, hurriedly smiled at Lusu and said, "I was wrong, brother Su, I just said the wrong thing." Then he looked at Yubao with a flattering look on his face. "Our sister is so cute. Don't worry, your sister will be my sister from now on, and I will help you protect her." Lusu said coldly, "No need, it's not like he is dead. His own sister doesn't need others to worry about." Siesui raised his eyebrows and teased him, "Oh, why didn't I see it before? You are still a girl." Speaking of which, didn't he hate the sister so much before that he wouldn't even mention her to anyone, but now he would actually buy rabbits to please her. This is changing so quickly. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 40. Chapter 40. The rabbit is so cute, let's eat it. Okay, you can go, Lusu said again. Siesui was not annoyed. Instead, he looked in the direction of Xiaochuanzi and said with a task, "I didn't expect you to be someone who values sisters over friends. Isn't she just a sister? You make it seem like you have no one else." Lusu glanced at him, "I am my biological sister, born to the same parents." Siesui, "Yes, it can't be compared. It's all this guy's fault. He always acted like he hated his sister, which made him think that her sister was not a good person. When his parents told him that they wanted to have a second child, he was so frightened that he acted and rolled around at home, and even threatened them to run away from home. They finally gave up the idea of giving him a younger brother or sister. At this moment, this guy actually showed off to himself that he had a biological sister. Why do you feel so unworthy of a beating? I don't know if he goes back now and says that he has changed his mind, and it is too late for his parents to work harder. The little nephew Lu rushed out of the house one step later than Yubao. There was also a little black dog that was all wet and wagging its tail. When Yubao was out of school, he found that the little black dog had been guarding the door, so he asked Sister Lu to bring it back with him. Two little black dogs were just bathing the little black dogs in the yard. At this moment, two little guys and a dog were squatting in front of the cage, with 3 pairs of eyes staring brightly at the little rabbit inside. "Dear nephew, wow, Bunny is so cute." Yubao nodded in agreement and said, "Well, it's very cute. Let's eat it." "Eat, eat." The dear nephew was stunned. He turned his head and looked at Yubao aside in disbelief. Yubao said and raised his little finger, "Yubao wants to eat spicy rabbit head, diced rabbit with pickled peppers, braised rabbit, suck." As he said this, his saliva couldn't help but flow down. Woof woof. The little black dog beside him wagged his tail happily. It also wants to eat rabbit paper. Little ant, how can you eat rabbits?" Lu Xiaosani'ar looked at her in horror. "Why don't you eat it?" "That's great," Yubao's eyes lit up. The rabbit was so small. If one person was missing, she could eat more. "Little dear nephew, no, that's not what he meant." He just suddenly felt that his little ant seemed a little cruel. Shivering. Lusu looked at the little Yubeo who was lying on the rabbit cage and drooling at the rabbit inside. A trace of surprise flashed on his face. Tisk, the little kid is a bit wild. Fortunately, he thought the little cub looked like the little thing inside, but it didn't look like a rabbit, but it wanted to eat a rabbit. Siesui on the side also winked at Lusu with interest after the initial shock. Your sister is quite interesting. Lusu ignored him directly, walked forward, lifted the little cub from the front of the rabbit cage and said, don't look at it, this rabbit is too small to eat. Oh, little Beazai looked disappointed for a moment. Lusu, however, I know a restaurant that makes spicy rabbit heads very well. I can take you to eat some other time. Really? Yobao's eyes suddenly brightened up again. He put his soft little hands around Lusu's neck and gave him a smack on the face. He said in a sweet voice, thank you, brother. Brother is so kind. Yubao likes brother the most. The little flatterer does one thing after another, and his voice is grandiose and coquettish. Who can bear this? Siesui on the side was so sad that his eyes were red. Is the sister you promised to be noisy and annoying? It's obviously soft and sweet, but wouldn't it hurt Lusu's conscience to lie to his brothers? End of this chapter.